Good morning, everyone.
Ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you all?
Fine, ma'am.
Fine, ma'am.
Corona free.
Fine, ma'am.
Hope you all had a great weekend.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, I had a doubt.
Yes. Ask.
The notes for the previous chapter we should only make, and question answers also we should write, ma'am.
Repeat.
Previous chapters notes. We should only make it in short, right?
Yes, yes.
And the question answers?
Question answer I will give today as a homework.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, because on that day I already gave 2-3 questions, and along with that one diagram is there. So questions answers are quite 5 or 6 in numbers, so that's why I avoided on that day. So today I will give those questions as a homework, because today I'm going to introduce a new topic that is a bit of introduction more. So we'll take this chapter question answer later, and we'll do the last chapter question answer today as a home assignment.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, everyone joined?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, 10 more people should join.
Okay. Let us wait for 2-3 minutes more. Let them to join. Till that time, anyone else having any doubt in any subtopic? May
No,
I ask?
ma'am.
Try to revise topic as much as possible, because if there is a long gap between that revision, then you will not retain all the things together, and it will become difficult after coming when we are going to open physically school, that one. So better to revise it as soon as possible. Whatever time you are getting, whether it is a 5 minute, 10 minutes, just revise those topics. Think everyone joined?
No, ma'am.
What is the strength, total strength?
50.
Today, 49 were there.
Okay, 6 more to join.
Ma'am, today 50 were there.
One was ma'am.
So that they joined today.
So
Even Chaitanya didn't join.
No, Chaitanya is there, I saw.
Bro,
He didn't talk only today.
I'm there.
Surprising.
See, Chaitanya.
Only Siddharth.
Chaitanya is there.
Siddharth is not
Chaitanya
there.
is there now.
Still 4 are not there.
and they don't know about the new link, I guess.
Ma'am, you start, ma'am. They'll join later.
1 minute
Yes.
more, I will wait. After that, I will start.
Okay, ma'am.
Even for maths class 2 were not.
So we'll start now. Are you all able to see these slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Putting it on the
Ma'am.
slideshow. Just a minute. So today we are going to start the next chapter, chapter 15, that is our environment. Because most about this chapter you know very well, and I just want to carry you for further parts of this chapter. So what is environment? When we talk about, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
So our environment, when we talk about our environment, is a sum of all physical conditions. When we talk about physical condition, it include a presence of air, water, soil, as well as interaction of living organisms of those particular area with all these physical conditions. So the sum total of all these living and non-living component of ecosystem is termed as a environment. So now in our environment, we have to first talk about the waste which is created by human as well as by animals. Whether it can be in the form of a household waste, or it is a farm waste, or it is animal excreta, or any type of waste, sources will always be man, animals, as well as plant also, because their leaves also it shed and it result in creating a type of waste. Though it is biodegradable, but it is a type of waste. So the nature of waste, why they need to be removed, because they are poisonous in nature, and accumulation of waste, it result in the number of diseases which will caused among the organism. So it need to be removed from the environment. So what are the types of waste? Basically there are two types of waste: biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. When we talk about biodegradable waste, basically these are the naturally formed things which can be decomposed easily by microorganism. It will take time to decompose that one, but for what happen after decomposition, they completely incorporate into soil, and they bring back the nutrient quality of the soil by the decomposition method. So basically the biodegradable waste are those waste material which produces non poisonous substances after the decomposition process. Those are called as a biodegradable waste. If we see the examples of biodegradable waste, here you can see all type of vegetable peel or fruits raw, decayed fruits or decomposing fruits or vegetables, they are called as a biodegradable waste. Even wood is also a biodegradable waste. Then paper cups, paper, that is also biodegradable waste. Other than that, wool is also a biodegradable waste. So basically the feature of biodegradable waste, they took time to decompose, but they decompose completely into the simpler substances, and those substances then again incorporate into the soil, get mixed with the soil and enriching the soil with the nutrients back. Now let us talk about those waste which cannot be decomposed into the simpler substances, and in this manner they are very poisonous for the environment. For example, here you can see plastic bottles, plastic cans, jars, they are non-biodegradable waste. Then syringe, and then straws, plastic spoon, plastic glasses, they all are non-biodegradable waste. So here we have a small activity. What you can do, take one paper, one old cotton piece of one old cotton cloth, and third one is any plastic bottle or any poly bag or anything which is made up of plastic. Now dig a ground about 15 centimeter, and then put all these things inside that ground and cover it with the soil level, and leave that place for 1 month. After 1 month, when you open that place again, then what you will see, when you take out the soil from that place, you find that that cotton cloth as well as the other paper which we took, both they started decomposing, and you can see the growth of microorganism over there, but you cannot see any decomposition over the plastic material. So this is the differentiation between biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste, when you allow them to decompose, they invite the microorganism, they act upon them, they decompose them. And non-biodegradable waste, if it is kept along with that also, it does not require, it does not allow any microorganism to grow over there, or none of the microorganism are going to act upon the non-biodegradable waste and decompose them into the simpler material. Is this clear to everyone? Non-biodegradable waste and biodegradable waste.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Yes, ma'am.
come to the effects of biodegradable waste on environment. First effect of biodegradable waste, there is a no pollution with the biodegradable waste. It decomposes naturally, as I told, microorganism, they act upon them. Why it decomposes naturally? Because it is made up of all the natural materials, so it will decomposes naturally by the action of microorganism. Microorganism, they have a property, they act upon the specific things which are made up of natural materials. So because of that, they act upon the biodegradable waste material and they start decomposing them. It is a time taking process because it take a long process. All the microorganism, they releases their digestive solution over them, and then they dissolve them, and then they take nutrition from them. That's why they are also called as a saprotrophs. You read about saprotrophs in nutrition chapter, that we have a different type of nutrition, holozoic nutrition and saprotrophic nutrition. So here decomposers, they are following the saprotrophic nutrition. Now, what is the one disadvantage of biodegradable waste? As if it is gathered in a large amount, then it is very difficult to degrade, or time duration it will increase. So sometimes it also causes some health hazard if it is decomposed in a large amount or huge amount. That is the only disadvantages with biodegradable waste. Now let us see effect of non-biodegradable waste. So the best example of effect of non-biodegradable waste is DDT. DDT, it is a type of pesticide which is sprayed over the crop to protect them from pest. So the full form of DDT is dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane. So it affects the food chain. How it affects the food chain? When farmer they spread the DDT on the crops, after the harvesting of those crops, they wash it under the water, and that water is used by the aquatic organism as well as the people which are depending upon that water sources for their daily need. So both of them, when they are using, for example, if we are talking about a food chain, then small fishes, they are eaten by the large fishes, and large fish are eaten by the human. So if DDT is a part of that food chain, that means from crop it enter into the water, from water it enter into the fish, and from fish it enter into the body of human. So ultimately it is going to affect the health of the human being or animal which is taking out those lower members of food chain. So these are non-biodegradable waste. As compared to the biodegradable waste, they are more poisonous. As I told you, they cannot be decomposed completely into the simpler substances, and they are creating large accumulation, and that is poisonous for the environment. It affects both flora and fauna because both plant and animal are somehow the part of food chain. So if it enter into a food chain, it is going to affect both flora and fauna. Cannot be decomposed, accumulation, too much of accumulation, that result to the more poisonous effect. Anyone, any doubt in effect?
No,
Ma'am.
No.
Now come to another topic, that is ecosystem, which is the main topic of this chapter, ecosystem. So when we talk about ecosystem, it is the all the interactive organisms in an area together with the non-living constituents of the environment form an ecosystem. That means, or in a simple word, when living and non-living constituents of any or any area, they are interacting with each other, they constitute ecosystem. Or in other word, a self-contained unit of living things, plant, animals and decomposers, and their non-living environment, which includes soil, air and water. Example: pond, forest, grassland, crop field, sea, lakes, even aquarium, garden, they are also example of ecosystem. Now, let us see the components of ecosystem. You know very well, there are two components of ecosystem, abiotic components and biotic components. Biotic components, it include microorganisms, plants and animals, whereas abiotic components, it involve air, water and solution. Now, this flowchart is very important, so try to understand this flowchart very carefully. Basically, we divide ecosystem in two parts. Ecosystem, it is divided into natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. Natural ecosystem, which lie already in our environment, that is called as a natural ecosystem, which is made by the nature. So natural ecosystem, it is divided into two parts, terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Further, we divide terrestrial ecosystem into forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, and crop field is also an ecosystem, because when we grow crops like paddy, which is filled with water for so many days, so it allow many organisms to grow over there and they take food from that environment. So crop field is also a type of terrestrial ecosystem, which is a natural ecosystem. Now, come to the aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem, it is having ponds, lake, river, sea and ocean. So here we have 5 types of aquatic ecosystem. Yes, Shri Gauri?
Ma'am, how is crop field natural? Like we are creating the, like we are
But
doing that, right?
you are creating only, you are putting plants over there. Once it is filled with water, it allow microorganism to grow there by themselves. Clear? So nature is giving them opportunity. Those plants are the part of that system. All right, but they are inviting microorganism to grow over there. So it is a type of terrestrial ecosystem or natural ecosystem.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Now, ponds, lake, river, sea and ocean are the type of aquatic ecosystem. Now we'll move to the artificial ecosystem, aquarium and garden. You have seen aquarium, that it is made up of glass chamber, then it is filled with water and stones, and then artificial grasses and everything is there, and then you keep fishes in those environment. So that is aquarium and it is artificial ecosystem. A garden also, because we are planting different types of flowers and everything there, and we are taking care of that one, so it is also artificial ecosystem. Is this flow chart is clear to everyone?
Ma'am,
Yes,
if they
ma'am.
ask us to divide ecosystem, do we divide it as abiotic and biotic or natural and artificial?
Not always biotic and abiotic are the components of ecosystem, but when we talk about types of ecosystem, it is always divided into natural ecosystem, artificial, or sometime directly as a terrestrial and aquatic, because that is only there as a part of your syllabus. So you can directly divide it as a terrestrial and aquatic.
Okay.
Now, so we'll take one by one the components of ecosystem. The first component of ecosystem is biotic component. So here we talk about there are 3 types of biotic component which occur in our ecosystem. First one is called as a producers. Second one is called as consumers, and third one is called as decomposers. Basically, producers, they are autotrophs, Consumers, they are heterotrophs, and decomposers, they are saprotrophs. I think it is clear to everyone, as we have finished already nutrition chapter. So we know very well producers are the plants which make their own food. Consumers, again, they depend upon the producers or autotrophs, and then decomposers, which always take nutrition from the dead material. So they are decomposers or saprotrophs. Now let us see the features of producers. They synthesize their own food, trap solar energy, produce carbohydrates by photosynthesis. They also synthesize proteins and fats. And example of producers are green plants and certain blue-green algae. So when we talk about ecosystem, producers are the main level of any ecosystem, because they are the lowest trophic level from where any food chain it will start. They are more in number. Their number is more as compared to the other trophic level of the food chain. So their feature is they perform the process of photosynthesis. They trap the solar energy, so they synthesize their own food. Their food, it is in the form of carbohydrate, but they also synthesize protein and fats, and they are food for the next trophic level. So that's why producers are the chief elements of any food chain. Example of producers: green plants and certain blue-green algae are example of producers. Consumers, basically consumers are those which consumes producers. So they are basically heterotrophic in nature, as they does not prepare their own food, and they take food from producers. So they always depend upon producers for their food. Example of consumers: protozoa, fungi, fish, human, goat, deer, lion, etc. They are the example of consumers. Now, broadly, we divide consumers in three classes: herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. This you read already, but here now you are going to read them in the form of consumer. Which one is going to occupy the as a primary consumer, which is the secondary consumer, and which is the tertiary consumer. Now, herbivores, they directly get their food from producers. So basically they are plant eating animals. They eat only plant and plant products, and they are called as a primary consumers. So when we talk about herbivores in a food chain, after the producer, the first level it is occupied by the primary consumer. Is it clear to everyone? What are
Yes,
primary
ma'am.
consumers? Primary consumers are the herbivores. Now, come to the next level, that is of carnivores. Those animals which eat other animal, either they are meat or flesh, so they are called as a carnivore. Again, we divide carnivore into two categories. One is a small carnivore, and other is called as a large carnivores. Small carnivores, basically, which are smaller in size, as well as they are feeding upon the small organism or small herbivores, so they are called as a small carnivore. Example are frog, lizard, bird, and fox. So you have seen bird also feed upon a small insect, lizard also feed upon a small insect, then frog also it feed upon a small insect, fox also, rabbit, and they are the herbivores on which it feed upon. Now small carnivores are maintaining the next level, that is secondary consumers. So always remember, herbivores they are primary consumers, then small carnivores they are constituting secondary consumer level. Now next one is the large carnivores. Large carnivores are also known as top carnivores, as they feed upon small carnivores. So when small carnivores they feed upon the producers, herbivores, then they are eaten by large carnivores. So large carnivores they are called as a tertiary consumer. Now, here it is a point to be noted that human can be a primary, secondary or tertiary consumer because we are omnivorous in nature. So we feed upon the plant and plant product as well as the meat or flesh. So in this condition, we can occupy any of the consumer level. It can be primary if we are eating only plant and plant product, secondary if we are eating a small fish or anything which is a small carnivore or large carnivore, then we are tertiary consumer.
Ma'am, is there any other omnivore except humans?
Crow is there, bear, ant, dog.
Okay.
These are also example of omnivores. So animal which eat both plants and animals, they are called as omnivores. Man, dog, crow, bear, ant.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, all omnivores are primary, secondary, or tertiary.
Not all. Only it is in case of man.
Ma'am, then what are
Only it
omnivores?
is in case because in when we talk about crow and ant, their feeding habit is specific. Their feeding habit is specific. They feed upon the specific type of organism. So for them, it can occupy either the secondary level or the primary level. But it's not mandatory that always crow is at the tertiary consumer also, because crow is also food for some other. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, is there any aquatic omnivore?
Sorry?
Is there any aquatic omnivore?
Other?
Any aquatic omnivore?
Many examples are there, but basically man, bear, ant and crow are the basic examples, which here we are taking examples which are related to a food chain, which are part of a food chain. So we have to focus more on those.
Ma'am, turtles. Sea turtles are omnivores.
They feed, yeah, they are example of
Even
that.
some fish, ma'am. They
Fishes
eat
also,
seaweed.
some fishes like shark, there are certain members which are
Crabs. Few crabs are also omnivores.
which are also feeding upon the other small carnivore and even the large carnivore. So they are also example. Now come to the planktons. So planktons, as we already discussed about algal bloom when we study algae in grade 9. So there I told you sometime that algae, they are forming a full layer on the surface of a pond, and that is floating on the surface of water in a pond. So these type of minute or microscopic organism which cannot be seen by naked eye, and they are floating on the surface of water in a pond or lake. So they are known as planktons. So basically planktons are free floating organism on the surface of water, whether it is in a pond, lake or any water sources. It can be on sea or it can be on ocean also. So if any microscopic organism it is floating on surface, then it is called as a planktons. We divide planktons into two types. First one is phytoplanktons and other is called as a zooplanktons. Phytoplanktons, as the name suggests, phyto we use for plants. So if a microscopic aquatic plants which are freely floating on surface of water, freely floating means they are not attached with any substratum, or they are not taking help of any other rigid structure like rock or any other surface, they are freely floating on the surface, then those plants are called as phytoplanktons. Example of phytoplanktons, algae, as I told you. Algae is an example of phytoplankton. Now, then the second type of plankton is zooplankton. Zooplanktons, they are microscopic aquatic animals which are freely floating on water surface. So when any microscopic aquatic animals, they are floating freely on water surface, they are called as zooplankton. The best example of zooplankton, you all know protozoa, amoeba, paramecium, they all belong to this category because they are microscopic and they are freely floating on water surface. Then small fishes, very small fishes, they are floating also there. They are not microscopic, yeah, but they are zooplanktons. So they are also part of our ecosystem of aquatic food chain, and they are a very important part of aquatic food chain, phytoplankton and zooplankton. When it comes to the biomagnification process, then they are an important component of these two food chain. Now we'll come to the next part of our food ecosystem, that is the next component, which is decomposers. Next biotic component, that is decomposers. Decomposers, basically decomposers, they are bacteria and fungi, and they have a specific mode of nutrition which is called as a saprotrophic mode of nutrition. You know very well, they release some digestive substances outside the body on the food, and they dissolve them with the help of those digestive juices, and then they take nutrition from that decaying or decomposing material. So basically they grow upon the dead material or decaying matter. So what they do, the main motive of their functioning is to break down the complex organic compound. What are the complex organic compound? Our body structure, it is made up of complex carbohydrate, proteins and fat. You have seen it is our body phenomenon also to break those complex compound into the simpler one, and then our body absorb those substances. So same for them, they also break down the complex organic compounds which are present in any dead and decaying organism and convert them into simpler substances. What happened to those simpler substances? Those simpler substances, they can be in the form of either carbon dioxide or in the form of ammonia. So that is again mixed in the soil, and we know very well nitrogen fixation it occur. Then those bacteria, it help there are some bacteria which help in the nitrogen fixation and incorporate the nitrogen into the soil back. So example of decomposers are bacteria and fungi. Bacteria which act as a decomposers are basically called as putrefying bacteria. This is very important term, you have to remember it every time, because sometimes they are giving question as it is in the form of putrefying bacteria. So the bacteria which act as a decomposers, that is called as a putrefying bacteria. So their basic function to release simpler substance like ammonia, carbon dioxide, which can easily mix with the soil particle and again taken back by the plant. They are also known as microconsumers or saprotrophs. Anyone, any question from planktons or decomposers?
No, ma'am.
It is clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the importance of decomposers? They are the important member of decomposer of our food chain because they act as a cleansing agent of our environment. Now consider a situation if all the dead and decaying bodies, they are lying in environment, and how much accumulation of waste they are creating or accumulation of poisonous substances they are creating. So the function of decomposers to decompose all the dead and decaying matter and mix them again back to the soil. So with this effect, they are performing two functions. One, they are cleaning the environment, and second one, they are recycling back the essential nutrients in the soil. What all components which are present in our body, whether it is carbohydrate, protein and fat, they break them and incorporate all those nutrients back into the soil. So in this way, they also maintain the fertility of soil, as soil it get again mixed with all types of nutrients, and they maintain the balance in this way they maintain the balance in ecosystem, as the nutrient it enter through the living organism, and then again it enter into the soil, and again it is taken by the living organism. So in this way they maintain the balance in ecosystem. So this is all about our introductory topic of our environment. So today we discuss about what are the basic components of environment, what are the waste, how they are created, biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Then we discuss about what are the effects of biodegradable waste and what are the effects of non-biodegradable waste. Then what is ecosystem, definition of ecosystem, then components of ecosystem, biotic and abiotic, types of ecosystem, what are the different types of ecosystem. Then Then we discuss about producers, consumers, what are primary consumer, tertiary consumers, herbivore, carnivore, omnivore as a primary, secondary and tertiary consumers. And then planktons, phytoplanktons, zooplanktons, decomposers and importance of decomposers. Now anyone having any doubt can raise hand and
No, ma'am.
go on.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
All topics are clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So it is good to hear that it is clear to everyone. Now come to the home assignment. So as we finish chapter life processes, so the exercise of that chapter on page number 113. Page number 113. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, 113 or 130?
113.
113 exercise question. End of the chapter life processes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So question number 5, how are fats? Question number 1, 2, 3, 4, you are supposed to do in textbook, and that is the MCQs. So take the answers in textbook itself. Clear? Question number 5, how are... question number 1, 2, 3, 4, it is MCQ. So you have to take answers in textbook itself. They are very easy, so you can do it by yourself. All right. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in next class. Then question number 5, how are fats digested in our bodies? Where does this process takes place? Fat digested in small intestine. And how they are digested by the action of bile juice as well as by the action of enzyme lipase. So question number 6, what is the role of saliva in the digestion of food? Mixing of food and then chewing, it makes the food masticated so that it can move further. And partial digestion of food, as it is salivary amylase, it is present there. So it helps in the partial digestion of carbohydrate. Then what are the necessary conditions for autotrophic nutrition and what are its byproducts that you know very well? Presence of sunlight, presence of carbon dioxide and water, then presence of chlorophyll. Question number 8, what are the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? And name some organisms that use the anaerobic mode of respiration. Right, you need to do this question as you already did this one in your notebook. You already did the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration.
So we shouldn't do that one?
You need not to do this question. Question number 8, strike out. No need to do question number 8 also. Then question number 9, how are the alveoli designed to maximize the exchange of gases? This question has been asked multiple times in board examination also. So very important question. So I think you are able to answer this question. Alveoli, as they have a sac-like structure and they provide a surface area for the exchange of gases as they are rich in blood vessels. What would be the consequences of question number 10? What would be the consequences of deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? Anemia, basically. And question number 11, 12, 13. That all we have discussed already. So question number 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You need to do in your notebook as a home assignment. Clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that much is today's home assignment, but still we have to finish pull-out worksheets that I will give you on in next class as a home assignment.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Enjoy your day and please log in for the next class with the next meeting ID and password.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
And